Hello, beautiful people. Today we're here to talk about, should you leave a job you love for more money? Ooh, this is a hard one. This is one of the most emotionally loaded and strategically significant and important conversations you can have with yourself and also with your boss. So let's dive in. I want to introduce you to a three-part decision-making framework for deciding whether or not you're going to leave or stay. Let's also have a look at what the data says about money and meaning. I think that's critical for this decision. And then if you decide that you are going to move, I want to give you some pointers on how to move without feeling guilty and actually have it be a strengthening of your leadership capacity. So can you love your job and still outgrow it? Let's talk about your strategy for what you do when that happens. Many people stay too long or they leave too fast, so they're at either ends of the spectrum. I want to talk to you about how to get it right from lessons learned and mistakes I've made myself. Leaving for more money, if it's done well, it doesn't make you disloyal. It actually makes you more intentional, which is fine. And the other thing that'll help you is a mindset shift that will allow you to be able to think, am I just leaving for more money, or have I completed the commitments that I've made here and I'm now ready and it's time for me to move on, and I can move on and get more money. So by the end of the video, you'll have 3 decision drivers that will help you with this decision. And you'll have a 5-question clarity tool that'll help you get clear on whether or not this is the right move for you. So loving your job is not the same as staying there forever or being loyal indefinitely. The old common sense says that loving your job means that you should stay and that you should feel disloyal if you leave. New common sense looks at whether or not you've fulfilled your commitments to the people that you have made commitments to in the current position that you're in, and that this is a growth opportunity and a new opportunity for you to move on. Now, if you have a good boss who's deeply committed to your growth, you actually want to be able to have that conversation with them pretty early on in the process, where you see that you are running out of growth opportunities maybe, or you see that there are positions being offered in other fields that will offer you a lot more money. I think that's a conversation that you can have if you have a really great boss who understands that part of their role is to help you grow. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute that I was always a really great boss, but as I grew in my leadership over my career, what I realized was that I actually wanted people to stay because they wanted to stay. I didn't want them to stay because they felt they should, because I never felt that was a good use of people's time. If they were leaving because there was a bigger opportunity for them that I could not provide, I needed to be able to honor that and actually help them with the process. So as I matured in my career and I became hopefully a better leader, I was actually be able to have very open and transparent conversations with people around the opportunities that existed for them in the company that I was currently working for versus the opportunities they might have somewhere else. And if they were thinking of leaving, I wanted them to follow through on that thought pattern and see whether or not they really wanted to leave. And if they were staying, then I knew they were staying because they really wanted to. And if they were staying, I was looking for 100% commitment from them, which is what I got most of the time. If you're thinking of having a conversation like this with your boss, you've got to ask yourself whether or not that your boss has matured to that level of growth in their leadership that they can actually have an open and honest conversation with you around you leaving or you staying, and they're not going to take it as a personal affront. So 3 core drivers that should really drive your decision is whether or not you've outgrown your role, whether the scope of what it is that you're able to do or allowed to do or being asked to do is something that you've outgrown, or there's still growth opportunity for you in there. The other thing to look at is your compensation. If you know for a fact that your compensation is significantly below market, that's a conversation worth having with your boss. And it's also a good reason for you to want to leave, particularly if you think that you can find something that is as enjoyable and you have a strong and well-respected boss as you currently do. The third one is the trajectory, the arc of your career and the arc of the opportunities that you have in your current company. If that trajectory is pretty flat, then it's also a reason for you to start beginning to think about looking for something else. Let's look at some of the real data that'll help you with this decision. Is 40% of employees who voluntarily left their job after 2 years did so even though they liked their manager and their team. So they were leaving for another reason, even though they loved their work. Gartner says that 52% of high performers say that they've considered leaving due to compensation gaps. So that's the second one that we were talking about in terms of the compensation. And then LinkedIn says that 45% of professionals left roles they loved due to lack of career growth. That's the trajectory part of it. So when we talk about scope, compensation and trajectory, use those as tools to help yourself be able to decide whether or not this is a move that you want to make. And also recognize that 52% and 45% of people are leaving their jobs for similar reasons. And that points to what we talked about earlier, where some people leave too soon, some people leave too late. Ideally, if you're going to move and you're going to leave, it's somewhere in the sweet spot when the timing is right for you and the timing is also right for your boss and the people who you work with. Leave with integrity and clarity is one of the things that you want to be able to do if you're thinking of leaving. There are 5 things that you should pay attention to as you do that. One is, have you fulfilled the offers that you've made in this role, both to your team and to your boss? And really, you're the person that can answer that most effectively. It's also a conversation worth having with people on your team and particularly with your boss, so you're not leaving a whole bunch of loose ends behind you. The other question to ask yourself is the one that we talked about in terms of trajectory. Is the growth opportunity here for me, or is it somewhere else? If the answer is somewhere else, then that helps you make the decision much more effectively. Is the new offer more than just about money? If you're moving somewhere and you love what you do, remember that you love what you do more than likely because you have autonomy, because you are building your mastery, and because you are aligned with the purpose of the company. Make sure that you're not just leaving for money, but that you're leaving for somewhere where you also have those absolutely critical 3, and I mentioned those in a previous video. The 4th thing to recognize as you do a little bit of introspection is, are you staying out of guilt? Are you staying out of emotional loyalty? Are you staying because you're uncomfortable having that conversation with your boss? Your ability to be able to get promoted and to find work you love and to move where you need to move is going to be determined in large part by your ability to be able to have some of these difficult conversations. I want to help you make those conversations a lot easier. That's why I'm doing these videos. I want to help you get promoted. The 5th question to ask yourself as you look to leave with clarity and integrity is whether or not what you're moving towards will allow you to be able to make bigger offers in the future. There's more opportunity there for you. You're going to learn faster. Some of the experts in your industry are already there. They're people who you want to rub shoulders with and work with. And they're people who you want to learn from. So if there are those kind of opportunities, that's also an essential determining point for you. As you go through this process, I really encourage you to look at my Get Promoted assessment. And the reason for it is, yes, it's called Get Promoted assessment, but it also has a certain amount of introspection in there in terms of, are you ready for your next move? Have you done everything that you wanted to do in this current position? Are you ready to make bigger, stronger, more effective offers? As you go through the Get Promoted assessment, there's a link to it down in the comments below, and it's also at getpromotedassessment.com. Let me know how that works for you, and let me know whether or not these conversations around work you love and making moves from work you love and to work you love are valuable for you, and if you want me to do more on this topic. I wish you the very best of luck, and thank you.